We are live. Welcome to Hot Takes, everybody. It is I, Young Shiro, along with my cohort, Skeleton Lipstick.
Hello.
We want to welcome everybody here tonight, both new and longtime guests. I see some new faces in chat. Welcome, you guys. And I see some old OG regulars, too. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you to all of our mods that are present as well. We've got a lovely night coming up for you guys tonight on our Vaporwave talk show. It is a long time that we've wanted to bring our good friend of the scene, activist, and mod for Hot Takes on the show. And that's Quiz. And everybody knows Quiz, right? So it just made sense. It was time. So we'll be kind of getting to know them a little bit better tonight, talking about activism, praxis, what they like, what they don't like, and some of the things that they've done and plan to do. So thank you guys for being here. If you are a fan of Hot Takes, post about it on social media. Invite somebody to be here if you think that they would like Hot Takes tonight. Just a reminder of ground rules. We do not do racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia. So don't do that. Punching down is not okay. Don't shit on your colleagues, your comrades. But punching up is not only okay, but actually encouraged. So go for it. There's no take that's too hot. Just keep it kind. And then we'll go over commands. Exclamation point followed by a command, all right? You've probably seen some of them if you guys have been here in the pre-roll. But you can follow this link and check out the comp. You can jump in our Discord server. We would love to have you. Many friendships have been made. Many events have been executed. Many memories struck in the Discord server. You could donate if you feel led to. Would mean a lot, right? It's optional, but we got people who got a commission. You can follow our social media platforms, either Hot Takes, what's going to be left of mine coming up here pretty soon. I'm getting off of Meta, so, bye-bye Meta. But there's our links right there, along with our Spotify. Did you guys see in the pre-roll that we got Angel Markloid of Fire Tools, Mindspring Memories, Toad Computers, and Non-Local Forecast fame to put together a custom-made, just for us, playlist of OG emo bands and songs?
It's gonna be good.
I sent you the track list, and you had some shit to say.
It's good.
So check that out if you trust Angel Markloid's taste or your.
They're talking about here. Yeah,
they know what they're talking. They've probably played with a lot of those bands, actually.
Very possible.
So, I think Angel uses she/her pronouns. Anyways, but check out that Spotify, and we've got all kinds of playlists that other previous guests have made, with all kinds of stuff from Philip Glass, Best of Philip Glass by Bee Fant, Ryuichi Sakamoto, I think is the guy's name, thanks to Mesh, TV sign-offs, thanks to Lux, Prague, thanks to Will Wade. Anyways, I'm rambling, but welcome to Hot Takes. We're going to start tonight with a series of recommendations by Skeleton Lipstick.
All right, so we're going to kind of go all over the board with this set of recommendations. I'm going to start with a album that's on Hush Tones by artist 7x3 called Eros. This is a Hush Wave style album, so very moody, very haunted, very dark. I really do like the way that they've stretched out the vocals in this one. It's very good, very interesting, dark, moody, lots of feelings of loneliness. It really spoke to me. My song I really like on it is Wondering. The other thing I like about these songs too is that it doesn't linger too long in the feelings. It's a pretty short album, 27 minutes. Sometimes you get these albums which are kind of creating an ambient atmosphere, and maybe the songs stretch on for a long time because they want you to sort of be in that world for a certain duration, but these ones keep you there just long enough, and the album moves pretty smoothly through itself and has some interesting rhythms to it too, some interesting drum rhythms to it as well. So I think it's a nice album to listen to if you kind of want to get familiar with maybe what Hush Wave sort of the sound of it is. And I think this is a good one to start with. It's Eros by 7x3. Next thing I'm going to recommend is, we got a future funk artist who you guys are familiar with, Ducat. He's recently kind of come back on the scene. It's been a minute since he's been out there, but I thought he's done some of the most competent future funk that's ever been written. So he only has a new single out right now, so I can't recommend the single except, so check out Dial Up, which is his new single, which I'm sure is the prelude to an album that must be coming out soon. So until that comes out, go check out his album from 2021, Daydream, which is super fun, super good chops. really tight rhythms. You got that song Cyberfunk is just, I mean, if you're going to be DJing and you want to wake the crowd up, play Cyberfunk. I mean, you can play the whole album, but I used to play it at Terminally Chill all the time, and
Nice.
I've gone to Yoitoki, and I know that Faith and Glitch used to drop that song all the time in the big venues, and
It must be
it's
good
like if
then.
you know what, and it's a real testament to how competent and skilled he is as a producer, because that song sounds crazy on big speakers. So I really look forward to what he has coming out next based on that new single. But until that album is fully released, go back and check out Daydream. I think you might see a new, and maybe we're on the precipice of a new renaissance with Future Funk because Ducat's back. You know what I mean? I know. So I'm very excited. If he releases a new album, maybe some other talented artists are going to follow suit, because I think it's going to be a great album when it comes out. Been looking forward to it. I think it's going to be the album that kind of piques people's interest back in Future Funk. So, but until then, check out Daydream and, of course, his new single. And then let's just kind of go rewind things a little bit and let's pick something from the past. And that's it's an artist that I know I've recommended at least, probably many times, at least another time on Hot Takes. And probably, I bet Isaac has maybe recommended him as well. And we're going to go back, let's spin it back about 10 years or so to Bewilderbeast one more time. Because if you haven't really thought about him lately, I want you to think about him again, because I still maintain that maybe one of the most talented artists to come out of the, adjacent, vaporwave adjacent scene. You know what I mean? I would literally like you to go back and check out the album Still Alive by him. The song Home is wonderful. This is a guy who really makes use of all the different techniques you can have to produce music. I think that was the really fun thing about the early 2010s, was that a lot of people got their hand on a lot of different ways to create music. People were playing with samples. People were playing with analog synthesizers. People were playing with Serum and other software synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was kind of trying to pick up, and also he was with the modular synths too. You know what I mean? People were just like, there were all this stuff, and kind of nobody had. Nowadays people put themselves into different genre categories and then specifically use the instruments or the sounds specific for that category, right? They don't really kind of stray too far from it. But back then there was all these different things. There was no codified way of like where you were going to fit in. So you kind of just grabbed a little bit from here, a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and you made your music. I made your music that way. That's how I still continue to make music that way. But back then everybody was kind of doing it that way, as opposed to now, if you are a vaporwave artist, you do it this way. If you are an outrun artist, you use this stuff. You know what I mean? But back then there was people just picked a little from here, picked a little from here, picked a little from here. And I don't think anybody does that better than Bewilderbeast, because I remember watching the way that he would produce music, and maybe at 1 minute he's got his modular synths, he's making a line with that. Another minute he is playing with a sample. You know what I mean? Another minute he's using a software synth. Another minute it's a vintage synthesizer. And I think he's great at the demonstration of the idea of like using a bunch of ingredients to make something. Because once you use a bunch of ingredients to make something, you can't really be classified.
You can't deconstruct it.
Yeah, and this is all because that's just kind of how One O Tricks Boy never did his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why everyone else was doing it like that. A lot of people were inspired by him. Yes. So anyway, Bewilderbeast, Still Alive. Check it out. And all his other stuff too while you're at it. Why not?
I love how like Italo disco influenced a lot of his work is. You can kind of hear it in the synth, like it just kind of like it'll waver in a way that a lot of that old Italo stuff would. There's a word for it, I'm sure, that I don't know because I don't make music, but you know it when you hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Great Rex, buddy. I want to talk tonight about my thoughts on art created for the sake of shock and unsettling the audience. Now, I'm no Puritan, okay? And I would never suffer the delusion that my thoughts and feelings are objective. Of course, art is always subjective. I think the only objectively bad art, as one of our previous guests said, is art created only for the sake of making money. But I have a soft spot, or whatever the opposite of a soft spot is, for art that really has no purpose other than just to shock people and unsettle. Now, I like unsettling stuff. I like bad vibes. I like sad music. I like angry music. I like...
You do love sad music.
Alien. I really do. I like dystopian, cold, alien vibes. But it's just some... And it's typically in film more than anything. But like certain media it just seems that certain types of art are just, or works of art really have no purpose other than just to make everyone feel extremely revolted. Like, and not even like, oh, this is, and I don't believe that art must have a statement or a moral. I don't believe that. But I feel like, you know, in certain works of art, it's like, oh, this was a commentary. This was it was like an analogy for something. But I just really think that, and I don't want to name any works specifically, but like that you just kind of know when somebody just made something literally just to offend. And I resent that. That's all I got for you. What do you think? Am I out of line?
I resent when it's just made to create a bad feeling, and there's no intent behind it, or there's no motivation behind it, or there's no feeling of an artist behind it. I feel like if you're going to do something that's going to offend, or you're going to shock or whatever, then I should feel the hand of the artist using that as his tool. You know what I mean? If I don't feel anybody behind it, and it feels like it could have just been generated by anybody, and there's no artistic voice behind it, I don't like it. But if there is an artistic voice behind it, and it kind of goes with that person's whole oeuvre, how you say it? O-U-V-R-E, I don't know how you pronounce it. If it goes with that whole oeuvre, that's it. Yeah, then I like it. But I don't like it when it's just I don't feel the hand of the creator behind it. Then I don't like it.
Right.
I don't like exploitation stuff too much, you know. But I do like shocking things.
I am being told.
As long as I feel an artistic voice behind it.
Well said. I'm being told by the chat that my mic is really poppy and crackly. I'm wondering if it is just because I have my face right up on it. Do I sound bad to you guys? And if anyone in chat feels like my audio is really bad, definitely let me know. Okay, mic is fine now. What a relief. Well, you know what, man? I'm glad that, I mean, I'm definitely down to have, like, the fucking smackdown put on me if my opinion is bad. Yeah, I think I'll just take that. Just kidding. All right, let's go ahead and get into the show, right? I mean, why wait another minute for everybody to get a chance to talk to our good friend Quiz? If you haven't seen him on a dance floor, absolutely just tearing it up in some sort of, like, high-vis attire, if you haven't heard him, if you haven't been a part of a conversation with him where his energy is just laudable and making me green with envy, if you haven't had the honor of participating in an event, whether it be a live stream or IRL event with Quiz, boy, are you missing out, brother. But I feel like most of these people here know who Quiz is. He's a good friend of both of us personally. He's a mod in the Hot Takes server. And he was in charge of the last two Vaporwave events. The last one along with Don McLennan of Brockhampton. There's way more things I could say about Quiz, but I think the best thing to do would be just to bring him on and see what you think about what I had to say. Go ahead and unmute yourself, buddy.
Good evening.
Yo.
My darlings. How are you doing? Right.
Scaring the hose, I see. What do you think about what I had to say about art that is only created to shock and offend?
I think we have to remember that there is, number one, a long history of artists pushing boundaries in art and making things acceptable that weren't acceptable before. But on the other hand of that, we are so desensitized that I feel like it's not that worth it to try to overtly shock people anymore, because it's hard to do, you know?
That's true.
It's like back in the day, the sound of an electric guitar going through distortion was
this
like...
would kill a Victorian child.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would fuck people up. And so it's really like, well... Yeah, how would you offend someone nowadays? And you see so many artists who are like, well, if you want to cause offense, I know, I'm going to talk shit on a group that is, you know, actively being exterminated and hunted and ostracized. So at that point, it's like, if this is,
then you get,
if this is what transgressive art right now is, like Dave Chappelle saying, trans people have too many rights, then you can keep it. Like, I don't need it anymore. I don't think anybody needs it anymore.
Fair.
Well said.
Well, that's a great example. I was mostly thinking about certain types of horror movies, but all right. Maybe
Well,
I'm just a Puritan.
Right? Like,
I like how you turned that, my friend.
people are
me
always
too.
I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it from that perspective.
what's a
I was thinking about the
scary
way
or shocking movie, and it's like, oh, you should watch a Serbian film, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, but that's just a movie that's designed to like revolt.
That's a
you.
great
Like,
example.
You know, it, and this might be, this is probably gonna sound extremely naive, but like, it's easy to make people feel bad. You know, just walk up and hit them.
No, you're right.
Walk up and hit 'em.
Name. It's
You're right.
harder to make people feel good. You know, if you can show me like a movie about war or something, and I walk away from it with some kind of like uplifted feeling, you know, I feel hope for the world. That's much harder to do than just show something super bleak and everyone suffers and dies and has no meaning. Like, cool, congratulations, I feel bad now. Like,
Congratulations, I feel bad.
you know. Yeah, don't look that movie up, by the way, a Serbian
Yeah,
film.
don't do
Like, it really is just
It
shock
supposedly
value.
means something.
It's kind of glittering.
You know, I like funny games. Someone's talking about funny games in the chat, and Michael Haneke, I like his movies.
Again, I would never claim that any of those works of art are objectively bad.
Oh, I mean, we don't need to keep.
Yeah.
This
That's
is
fair.
a different conversation, though. Hold
Fair.
on. We gotta rewind it now, because we could talk about this. This could take us on too many different paths. But I want to go back to the path of quiz. So, quiz.
Great idea.
I have to ask you, what got you interested in music in the first place, and what kind of music were you first interested in? Can we go back to when you were maybe a kid? What were you first exposed to?
My path on music has been a very weird one.
It has been a weird one because I've seen your record collection.
Jealous.
My relationship with music is strange, I guess, compared to. So let me just try to preface with that, I guess. I realize this is outside of most people's sort of experiences. What ends up happening over the course of sort of, you know, my life is my parents moved here from India. I'm raised by my parents. Both of my parents are working all the time. Neither of them are really that into music. They don't really have time for music. But I'm in the car with them a lot, and if we're in the car, we're listening to either a handful of Bollywood tapes that they have, or we're listening to like the oldies station that's playing like 70s rock. And I didn't really have a relationship with music, but I liked when the Bollywood stuff was on. I definitely fucked with that stuff, but I wasn't into music. I didn't really. Music was something that happened in the background, you know? And I might say, well, I kind of like this tape better than that tape, or I have a song I like on this tape better. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm not really a music listener or aficionado. That changes in middle school for me. So it was until middle school that I was actually like into music. And that's because my brother, who is 3 years older than me, started high school. And his friends were turning him on to like Linkin Park and stuff like that. Actually, I may have gotten that chronology slightly wrong. I was in elementary school. My brother was in middle school, and his friends were turning him on to Linkin Park. And I'm listening to Linkin Park. Like the second Linkin Park album has just come out. It's 2003, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, holy shit! Like they're talking about all this stuff. I mean, because I don't speak Hindi. I don't know what any of these Bollywood songs are about. I haven't even seen the movies that half of them are from. And then I'm sitting here, like, listening to this stuff in English, like, you know, this ain't Dock of the Bay. You know what I mean? It's relatable to me. I don't know where to even find
real
Dock
shit.
of the Bay
Real shit.
or Watch the Tide Roll Away. That's not my generation exactly. But they were talking about alienation. They were talking about no one listens to me. They were talking about, like, I feel like there is me inside that is not being seen by other people. And, you know, just all the things that a teenager, you know, resonates with. Now, I'm lucky in that respect because Linkin Park simultaneously turned me on to hip-hop, electronic music, and rock all at the same time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I was super into that. I listened to a lot of new metal through middle school. And then it wasn't until I was kind of in high school that I started branching out a little bit more. My brother turned me on to Dream Theater, which is like a progressive band.
Right.
So we both really love Dream Theater. But I really tried to find the bands that inspired Dream Theater from the 70s, like King
Well,
Crimson.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you were always trying to look for the roots of where things came from
Yeah.
with music.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
So
Respect to you.
that's
I'm not
that's
that great at
definitely-
that, so
Like Dream
That's
Theater is one of those bands where they wear their influences very much on their sleeve. You know, they cover the bands that inspired them, or they talk about them. You know, they play on tribute albums and stuff. And I like that. I like when artists are not afraid of being in a genre. I think modern artists are super afraid of being in a genre. And as soon as somebody tags a genre, they're like, no, 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 sir, I'm not that. Other people are that, but not me. I am my own thing. I'm me. And it's like, well, all of us are us. That still doesn't, that doesn't mean that
facts.
genre doesn't exist.
Interesting.
And what I mean by that, to be clear, is there's nothing wrong with being a part of a genre. Like, I think it's important, personally, I think it's important that Death Romantique comes up in a conversation about Witch House. Is Death Romantique a pure Witch House album? No, but it's a modern statement on Witch House.
Oh, thank you.
It's part of a tradition. I actually posted about this on Blue Sky. You're part of a lineage. This is a man saying, I listened to Witch House. I don't think Witch House is, you know, a product of 2008 or whatever. Like, I think it has relevance, and I'm gonna prove it to people. You know, obviously the record is more than that, right? But that's sort of what I got. Is like, I'm making a statement on this thing, and I think that's really cool. I find that very inspirational.
Thank you.
So anyway,
I love how you put that. Thank you. I'm gonna save that for copy.
Yeah, that's, you know, absolutely. And so, you know, long story short, we basically diverged because my brother didn't like the older music. He really only likes modern music. So I was listening to like Genesis and King Crimson and stuff like that.
nice.
And I'm also coming home every day and MTV is on. And MTV is playing, you know, System of a Down and Linkin Park, and they're playing, you know, Nickelback and stuff that I didn't really fuck with as much. But then every so often, like, an Anthrax song comes on, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, what's this? Anthrax, you know? Or like,
yeah. You're getting into thrash metal now.
And I'm like, this shit rocks.
Hell yeah.
And until then, that's when I diverged, because my brother was not fucking with that stuff,
Nice.
and I really was. So I had to meet some of my, like, I had to talk about music with my peers for the first time and be like, yo, what are you guys listening to? And then in English class in junior year of high school, we do the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And we have a really cool
the albatross around the neck.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And we have a really cool student teacher who puts on the entire 13-minute Iron Maiden song, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Oh, holy shit. That's crazy.
I'm like,
God bless those
Oh.
student teachers.
this fucking smacks.
That's so funny. Well, I never would have thought that was how this. That's what's going to be your first exposure to Iron Maiden.
I wish Jez was here. He
Isn't
loves
that crazy?
Iron Maiden
I know.
so much.
I actually told Jez I would mention my favorite Metallica album is Ride the Lightning. I think Master and Justice are great, but Ride the Lightning just has really fucking awesome lead guitar work. A little bit of that Dave Mustaine riffing is still in there. They were getting creative with the bass lines. It was like a lot of like melody and aggression and all this kind of stuff happening all at once. So Ride the Lightning, it's got that youthful energy. But they also knew how to play a lot better than the first album, because they didn't quite have it on the first album. Okay, I gotta catch up with the chat.
They're fucking with it, dude.
Oh, love Deftones. Everyone's talking about Deftones. Huge
They were talking about all
Deftones.
the
Oh, yeah.
Deftones stuff.
Huge Deftones fan. First song I ever learned on guitar was Be Quiet and Drive by Deftones. First song I ever learned on an instrument. Be Quiet and
Wow.
Drive.
Really? When did you
Very
start
cool,
getting into
buddy.
playing? When did you want to start playing instruments yourself?
I wanted to start playing instruments. Actually, like, listening to more metal really wanted me to get into playing music more, and I was really into drumming. I finally got to convince my
Awesome.
parents to get me a drum kit and
Really?
stuff. And it was tough, honestly, because I was self-taught, and over the years I was just I was practicing sometimes. I didn't have anyone to play with. I didn't have any guidance. I wasn't following any kind of lesson path. So I just kind of getting behind the kit and fucking around and getting bored and not sticking with it. But over the years, I have recently taken up bass guitar. I have one like right over there. You can't see it, but
Yo.
and then I have also, as you may see very soon, taken up vocals as well. That's my thing. Partially because I have chronic pain, and playing the drums is really hard when like your arm is fucked up, you know, or you're like months. So I love the drums, but I need to get my health a little bit better before I can get back to those.
So, how old were you when you started playing guitar and started playing instruments? Were you in high school? Were you in college?
Yeah, I was in college. Like, I was already in college at that point. It was, I was late to the game, in my opinion, you know.
I don't think there's any like wrong time to start learning to play instruments.
Yeah.
But I agree. You know, it's kind of intimidating when you like to pick up an instrument because you're like, well, gosh, I feel like everyone who wanted to do this started at like 8. You know what I mean? But I think that's like a good lesson to people is that you can start whenever. That there is no like real time frame for this.
I felt that about a lot of things, and it got to a point where I was like, I'm 30 years old. I'm either gonna do this or regret it forever.
Literally, not the only person in the world who's thought that. Yes.
You know, I'm the kind of person when I go to a show, there is part of me that's always thinking, damn, I'd love to be jamming out on stage. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
I feel that.
I have this feeling so often. I have this dream so often. Putting together my band has been really difficult because everything about it has come to me in a dream. I have a dream.
Okay, Dale Cooper.
Reverse engineer what happened in the dream.
So, that's fascinating.
Shout out to my bandmates for putting up with this because it's dream logic. A lot of it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, we're like playing like vaporwave, dark wave, like the Challenger's soundtrack type of shit. And
the Challenger soundtrack. Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's like, what does that actually sound like? And we don't actually know. So,
how many is it hard to get people to? Was it hard to find people that you wanted to put into the band? What's the most difficult thing about organizing a band?
Well, when I was focusing more on playing metal, it was definitely the fact that I am a drummer, and there's no kind of metal you can really play that is like entry level. You know, there's
Dude,
not.
That was what I was gonna say. Metal is
very
hard.
virtuoso.
Like it's very technical. Not all of it, but a lot of it is very technical.
And I listen to a lot of I listen to a lot of I like really fast and technical metal, and it took me years to realize I like listening to it, but I don't like playing it.
I can only imagine how hard that shit is.
Megadeth was my favorite band for like all of my 20s. And I saw them live, and it was awesome. But I realized watching them on stage, they are like rooted to the ground, just desperately trying to keep up with this insanely difficult music. But there's no like stage presence. They're not like dancing or whatever. They're just trying to get these notes out. And I'm like, that's a lot of work, But like at the end of the day, I think there's more to being a personally. I think there's more to being a musician than playing the notes.
Yeah.
Why would it was just about playing the notes? Why would you ever go see a musician live? And I saw a lot of metal bands where it was exactly like it was on the tape because the metal kind of culture endorses that when you play live, it should be exactly like it is on the tape. But it's also kind of boring. And when you see other types of art, especially stuff like DJing, where it's actually being made on the fly in response to and in communication with the audience, you can't help but think about seeing music in a different way.
That's a really interesting point too, is that there's everything comes with different expectations based on the format of the music, you know what I mean? And I can see like really appreciating metal and like loving it, and then being like, and then liking to go see it as well, but being like, but if I had to make my own music, and if I had to, what just because I like this doesn't mean that's what kind of performer I am. Like the kind of performer you are and the kind of music that you maybe enjoy a lot may not always cohere together, and that's fine. And I think it's very interesting when there's people when people are like that, you know what I mean? When they might not be that kind of performer, but they do enjoy that music. So they're just like when they go in and do the music themselves, or think about performing themselves, or engaging with the music themselves. It's interesting to see how that influence comes out in them and how they do it and what they do that's completely different when they play.
And that's what it really is all about to me, because I'll be honest with you. My band has been kind of in like a holding pattern for a while as like I get my health together, I get my master's degree, We figure out what
Yeah,
sound.
I would ask you about that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But I would definitely do want to ask you at some point about how is balancing your, your education, pursuits with all this.
You know what's really funny is that I am more productive when I am working or going to school full time because I need the structure in my life. I am bad at providing that structure for myself, but when I have a structure, I get so much done. My workday when I was in college was like 9 a.m. to like 11 p.m. or something, and I was just always doing something during that period, and I loved it. 'Cause I was, I would have a class in the morning. Then I'd go to the radio station and listen to promos. Then I'd eat lunch and work on homework. Then I had another class and I'd do more homework. Then I'd go to my night, job on campus.
Fuck, I don't miss those days.
I always knew when I had free time and how much free time I had. And I think it's genuinely transformative for me to say, I have nothing to do between now and 8 p.m. So now I can get creative. Now I can get, I have this time. I have no guilt about spending this time to just do whatever I want to do. So I'm actually really excited about that because I'm recently got a full-time manager position at my current job.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
I'm actually really looking forward
Congrats.
to having that kind of structure again.
So that's interesting. Imagine looking forward to getting a new responsibility.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm insane. That's why I'm like this. For sure. Like I enjoy things that other people really don't enjoy, and I am willing to do things that I think are necessary even if I don't enjoy them. Because to be honest with you, I don't like being a leader. I don't like taking leadership roles. I don't like being in charge of things. I don't like telling people what to do. I only do it because I'm gonna misquote JoJo's Bizarre Adventure here.
Okay,
but it's like when all the heads of state across the world sit down to eat, they're so hungry, they're ready to eat, but whoever takes the napkin off the plate first is making like a power play, right? And so they all starve there because no one wants to be that guy to grab the napkin first. And if one person grabs that napkin, then the meal can happen and everyone can eat. But
somebody's got to do it
first.
I feel that.
And I will be honest with you, for those of you who haven't read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that's part of the villain's monologue.
Oh no.
But also, I think there is something to say about that. Like, listen, everyone's waiting for an excuse or for permission to go ahead and do the things they want to do. And if I can break that seal, if I can like pop the cork for people, then that's what I'll do, even though I really try to avoid situations where I'm like someone's boss, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Felt.
I will also mention real quick, this is something I thought was really important to mention. I wanted to open with, and obviously I didn't do that. I think it's important. I haven't put out my first song yet. My first song will, if all goes well, be debuting on Lux's Neon Nights show, Friends and Family.
Oh, damn.
Nice.
The end of April.
Really?
Hear the first
this
single.
is a big deal.
Finally.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Something that I told Skelly 4 years ago on the curb outside Warehouse on Watts that I was going to do.
I remember, of course. It's still that one?
Yeah, it's still that one.
Oh,
so
my God.
We are actually going to do like a post-punk cover of Stay Passionate, Be Discreet by Lipstick Elite.
Wow.
I can't believe that that's going to be. I 100%.
That's pretty cool.
And the thing is, to be honest, I was really scared about making it like post-punk, like making it like dark wave, because I'm just like I don't want to just sound like my voice tends lower, especially when I sing. But I think hearing that like generic, like low-voiced Middle Eastern European man voice on the dark wave song is so like overdone.
It's played out, unfortunately. Pretty passe.
Very boring.
Yeah. We have a Depeche Mode already.
And then I was just like basically like, you know what though? This is what my voice sounds like. I don't care if people listen to my music and say, "Oh, it's just typical dark wave. There's nothing special to it." Because you know what? As I go back to Skelly, that music meant a lot to me, and it means a lot to me, and it's something I want to do right now. It's a commentary I want to make. The dark
That's the
wave.
best reason to make art, right there.
Yeah, because I mean, I never listened to Depeche Mode. I never listened to The Cure. I listened to fucking Yugoslavian cold wave from the 80s, and I was like,
Nice.
oh
Yeah,
shit,
no, that's
fucking
fascinating.
sick.
That's
But
the
also,
best.
that is
Hard.
the stuff where it is artists in an uncertain political time as their government is collapsing, and dance floors are one of the only few places that are still safe. So that's where they get together.
True. You're right.
And
Well said.
they are making this music that is dancey because it's for the dance club. They have no choice but to dance because all their kinds of venues are not permitted. But they're sad about it because they're mourning their way of life. They're mourning the imminent breakup of Yugoslavia and the genocide that was going to happen, the Bosnian
Man, this
genocide.
is fascinating. I never even. Wow, this is a fascinating subject
Important
matter.
important
right
things
now,
for us to
I
take
think that
heed
shit
of
is relevant.
in
I think
these
that shit is
times.
relevant right now.
It's relevant
You're
as fuck.
absolutely right. You're so right.
And if people listen to it and they're like, oh well, this is just Depeche Mode or whatever, it's like that's fine. But there's people who listen to Depeche Mode and it's everything to them, right?
1000%,
Nothing wrong with
absolutely.
doing that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
It will be different because I'm not actually I'm
Also,
having.
you're gonna think it sounds like that. It's gonna sound like you. It's not gonna actually
Yeah.
be that. There's a very big
absolutely.
difference
And you've
between
got to be
artifice.
you.
No. There's artifice is very obvious, but when there's intention behind things, and when there's meaning behind things, and when there's like a passion behind things, you that's just the insecurity inside yourself saying that probably, and it's not gonna be that at all.
Yeah, and that was exactly
I'm
it.
always feeling like that whenever I do anything. Basically,
I
everyone knows what this sounds like. Everyone's gonna expect this. I always think that to myself all the time.
I told my friend, like, hey, I'll be honest, this is kind of how I feel about this. Like, I would love to cite like Molchat Doma as an influence on this band, but also I'm kind of terrified of sounding like them because everyone sounds like them. And the thing is that they are very authentic and they've nailed
I think
that
it's
sound.
impossible for you to do that considering all your different influences. It's going to be
Yeah.
impossible for you to sound like anything else.
Molchat Doma with a side of
Heard that.
Anthrax and Dream Theater.
There's no way. It's too unlikely that you could try and sound typical. I don't think you could try to, wanted to.
He turned his head and he looked at me and he goes, "You don't have a Serbian accent."
That's true.
And I was like, that's it, right? Like, I'm worried, like, well, what if I sound exactly like this Serbian man from the 80s? And it's just like, but you're not a Serbian man from the 80s. You can't sound like that unless you're, unless you actually sound like that. Yeah.
Facts.
And I think, and for what it's worth, I also think with that music, it was a time of like, the minimalism of it speaks to me a lot. Back in the day, if I can tell a quick story,
You can.
there's a whole local scene of cold wave bands that only exists because there is one guy who had a Fairlight synth in his basement, and he let all the other when the regime was saying you can't play punk music anymore, it's causing civil unrest. All the punk guys were like, "What the fuck are we gonna do?" And this one guy was like, "I got a Fairlight in my basement. If you guys like take turns, come and like fuck around on it for write some music, schedule it with me. You can come in my basement. You can use my Fairlight. You can record a fucking album, and then you can play it out somewhere." And so like, there's like 4 or 5 bands that only exist because there was one guy who had a Fairlight in his in his basement, and he
That's
let people
so hard.
borrow it. When was the last time you borrowed something from someone?
Undergrad.
You know what I mean? Like, when was the last time you were like, "Oh, I have this thing that I don't need right now"? Yeah, you could,
That's
you can use
fucking
it.
mutual aid, man. That's some community building shit.
That's why it
Respect.
speaks to me like that. Because, and again, it's a scene. The scene has a consistent sound because they're all using the same gear. It's that one guy's gear. But every single band has their own unique sound. They don't all sound like each other.
Very
So it
good
doesn't
point.
really matter about the equipment. It's about, what you bring to the equipment. And there's lots of questions we have about gear, and that's my answer to all of them.
That's hard as fuck.
I dress like a Serbian man from the 80s, to be fair. I have a lot of tracksuits.
You dressed like a Serbian
hair.
man in the 80s?
Most of them are from either Serbia or Ukraine, like sellers.
Are you serious? That's so hard, dude. I remember you were posting hella pictures, and I was like, "Do you actually have these?"
I'm probably gonna get both of those, to be real.
That's
that I
so
posted
hard,
to you.
dude. So cool.
Yeah. But I want to point out, just because, like, you know, all this shit is like connected, right? Like, when people are like, oh, you know, I don't want to think about politics in my art. It's like, you're probably listening to music that is about politics. You know what I mean? Like,
Imagine.
politics is not like CNN. Politics is how we relate to the world, or how the world relates to us. It's something you can't escape. I think there's been a false sense of escapism from vaporwave, where it makes you feel like the world doesn't exist, and then you get rudely jerked out of it by some shit.
Oh, shit.
I love this album. I gotta look this up, and then like it's fucking somebody who, you know, is posting shitty things on Twitter. It's a
Right.
shitty label, you know, and then it's someone else's stolen shit, and you're
Yep.
like, cool.
Yep. Yikes. Yeah, a wiser person than myself once said, hey, it's nice to not care about politics, but your boss definitely cares about politics.
Oh yeah.
Your
Oh, yeah.
landlord definitely cares about politics.
Everyone who is, you know, making money and having power and owning land and controlling, you know, the fucking utilities that we use cares about politics. So, you know,
Can I ask now? I actually want to get into this. How did you discover vaporwave?
how did I discover vaporwave? This is a fun story. My buddy Kevin, been friends
Shout
since, like,
out
fourth
Kevin.
grade. He was like, "Yo," he lives with his folks, or at the time. He was living with his folks at the time, and he was like, "I just bought a shitload of these color-changing LED bulbs, and I put them all over like the main floor of my parents' place. They're out of town. I'm gonna have a party and just have all the lights be like pink and blue and purple and shit, and we're gonna have like, you know, 80s movies playing and visuals on the TV, and I'm gonna be playing vaporwave from my tape collection, and
nice.
it's gonna be called, we're gonna call it Neon Night, because that was a show that Luxury League used to do."
What?
And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. 80s, right? Like, all right. Shit. Aviators, and I'll get like a white suit, because he had a Miami Vice record, the soundtrack record on his shelf.
Nice.
And I remember I saw that, and I'm like, I'm gonna do that. All white suit and sunglasses. So I showed up to his place. I ate a piece of paper while I was hanging out at his place.
Ate a piece of paper. Gotcha.
I like that right there.
I bet it was a fun night.
The lights were going. We were drinking Zima.
Oh, Zima! Are you
They
serious?
just happened to bring back Zima, so we got like a case of Zima. We're all just drinking Zima and listening to fucking, you know, shit. And then there's just a moment, and I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this, because I had this moment. It was captured on film.
Oh my gosh.
I was sitting on his couch underneath his like lamp and like his fake palm tree, and the lights are going, and I'm feeling real good, and the music is hitting, and I'm just like, wow, like this moment is beautiful. Everything has lifted me out of the world that I normally live in. I am fully existing in kind of this like 2-room fantasy in a suburban house in kind of rural Pennsylvania, and it just feels like time is fake right now, and we're living like in the past and the future and the present simultaneously. And it obviously sounds like, you know, drugs talk, but I mean, genuinely, it was like the set and setting, the lights, the companionship, the Zima, everything was on point, and it just all clicked together, you know. And I remember, because I was sitting there, and I had my eyes closed, and I was just taking it in. And I didn't realize my friend actually took a picture of me, because I was lounging on the couch, so I was kind of like posing a little bit without realizing it. So he took a picture of me, so I can show you that picture of me, that moment where vaporwave transported me, and I found myself in that other place. And to be fair, before this point, I didn't really like electronic music, but I love jazz, I love soul, and I was listening like, oh shit, you're just covering, this is electronic music, but it's
Oh,
sampling.
you hadn't. Wait. Please stop for 1 second. So you hadn't really even listened to much electronic music at this point.
Barely any.
That's wild.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
And we were basically like Yay, Zima means cold. That's good to know. And
Yeah, that's pretty
waves.
wild.
Yeah, Zima wave is real. But anyway, I was just like, I had that moment, and then I come out of that moment, and I'm just like, I asked my friend, I'm just like, what tape do you have on right now? Because it's divine. It's just
Wow.
completely not of this world. It's just completely something I've never experienced before. And it's a musical experience that took me out of, you know, it transcended my ears and like became my reality. And he said, well, it's a rip that I made off Bandcamp, but it's a world class by this artist Luxury Elite.
Nice.
No
You know,
freaking
the
way.
whole Neon Night thing is kind of an homage to her. And I'm like, what is
Wow,
Neon
that's
Night
so nifty.
talking about? What? And I was just like, okay, whatever. And then the next day, I crash upstairs in his bedroom, and I wake up. I
Wow.
wake up from the faint downstairs sounds of the very, very beginning of the first song of 100 Mornings by Windows 96.
Wow.
What?
And I am become
Great album.
awake at the same time the kind of beat drops on that very first song. And I'm just like, I want to live this forever. I want this to always exist. I want this to always be a place I can go to when I want to.
This is such a crazy story.
That's pretty magical.
This is the most evocative story I have.
Yeah. I feel like I'm there.
Continue.
So it was pretty much like, and it's crazy to me too, because it's like, you know, I want to remind you all that, like, you know, I've seen Lux live now. Like, I watched Neon Nights now, but all of this stuff, like, every time I'm there, I'm just taken back to it.
That's too cool, buddy.
And he also, I asked for 2-track like IDs, like, who's playing right now, and it was World Class Luxury Elite, and it was Hit Vibes by St. Pepsi.
Nice.
Too cool.
But it also, vaporwave for me has always been a thing, like a place you can go to escape or to feel like you belong. But I think it's not that way for everyone, right? Like, not everyone feels safe on the dance floor. Not everyone feels safe in a venue. And I think it was that feeling of like, yeah, you know, it's almost like, don't ruin the vibe. Don't ruin the vibe by being a shitty person out here. You know, we're all just trying to get away from our problems, and we are living in a culture that is heavily pushing us in a certain direction, to be more isolated from each other, to gossip about each other, to let our anxiety brains make decisions about how we feel about other people. And for me, because vaporwave kind of makes you calm, it's kind of cathartic, because it kind of makes you relax. I think it's so important, because we need something that helps us relax. You don't make good decisions when you're not relaxed, you know.
Can I ask you how you went from kind of having this tremendous first experience with the music genre to kind of getting involved with it more, starting to make friends with it, starting to talk about it on Twitter?
My memory is actually really terrible, but I have very specific memories of this. Now, the same friend of mine has a sticker on his record cabinet for the label Business Casual. I always thought it was so cool.
Good taste.
I might do an ad lib. I'm thinking about this. Like, poll in the chat, okay? I haven't been talking in the chat. I've been reading the chat. I just haven't been commenting. But really quick, yes, Y for yes, N for no. I wanna do an ad lib on the album we put out. When you eventually put out an album, I wanna just start a track going, I think I'm John Zabelli, the way I keep my business casual. It's gonna be how I open the song. And I'm gonna send it to John, and he's gonna be like, no, you can't do this.
Right.
I'm not putting you out.
I'll take it. I think you should do it.
But so he told me about, I knew Business Casual. This is my first time using Bandcamp either. And
Nice.
I go to Business Casual Bandcamp. I log on one day. The most recent release is Vanitas High Renaissance at the Modern Art Museum. And I was like, wait, I thought vaporwave was just a bunch of like busts and kind of like played out ideas, but this is actually really fresh, like vaporwave in a museum, and it again puts you in the museum. And I'm, high Renaissance at the Modern Art Museum. It's a concept that it felt fresh. It felt like it fit the concept of vaporwave. And so I just, I'm gonna open my Bandcamp if I can. I just bought every tape that Business Casual released for like 5 months. Every single week, I bought whatever tape they put out. And that introduced me to the breadth of the genre. You know what I mean? And then I finally started branching out, like originally My Pet Flamingo, and I'm like, okay, what's that? Okay, what's that?
It does introduce you to the breadth of the genre. Business Casual is great for that.
I followed,
especially his annual comps, like great introduction.
Yeah, I followed John on Twitter, and then right when COVID was hitting, John retweeted Pacific Plaza saying, "Hey guys, the event we were gonna do is now canceled due to lockdown. We got to the venue and they announced a lockdown, so we're here. We're just gonna stream it live. We have all of our sets done. So this visual memory, or this virtual memory show,
I feel like I remember that one
online.
And I think DS Dude and Vaporwave Shine played that one.
Yes, absolutely.
I remember that one.
Yep. And I tuned in, and it was the most glorious thing ever. And it was a straight up URL show. The visuals were awesome. The chat was awesome. I made a lot of friends in the chat. I put a lot of really fucking like stupid jokes in the chat, and people, vibed with that. So if someone liked my joke, I'd be like, oh, And then at the end of it, I was just like, hey, by the way, I'm gonna drop my Twitter link in here if you guys, want to catch up. So some people followed me. I followed them back.
Very
cool.
I followed
Plaza. They did another virtual memory show. I went to that one, and then it went on from there.
Did you ever go to the ones that they had on Rambly, where you could be the little
the little avatars?
Earthbound looking avatar? I remember talking to Data Girl at great length on Rambly. That shit was so fun.
I really liked the way that you could just go off to the side and talk to someone.
Oh yeah, it was just like a real show. You could go up and see like it was like a projector, right? A projector screen of whatever was being streamed on Twitch, and the closer you got, the louder the music got. If you walked away, you could just chat with people. It was so great. More people should have used Rambly, dude.
Now, actually, if I may, I will bring this up later because someone asked a question about it. But Rochecore said, "I regret sleeping on a lot of the URL shows going down during COVID." And I will say, I think that something I would like to see change in the vaporwave scene is the idea that like a URL show happens. You build up hype, when it's announced. You build up hype when the lineup's announced. You build up hype when it happens, and then it everyone moves on. Because a lot of people are doing really good work in those sets, and it's kind of like I think unfair to just move on in your mind to the next show. And I think Roge himself has been great at that because he'll always do like premieres. He'll invite people.
Yeah.
I'm premiering the Young Shiro set, Roge sets. And it's like it shows you still care. You still remember that he did that, and it's not just like, oh, it's over. I'm done. I don't care. Not that I don't care. Like, I think
it feels more disposable. I get it. Yeah, I agree.
Feeling disposable.
A lot of work goes into making those things.
And I think that is something that I would like to see change because I think the scene is pivoting a little bit toward the sense of things feeling more disposable. I think there's that kind of implicit pressure that we're not even aware of, to keep. Don't remember all this stuff, and it's really important because no one is documenting the history. I got a site that lets you rip VODs off Twitch, even if you're not own the VOD. And while that was up, I ripped 4 of the virtual memory sets, and it's fucking awesome. I have them on an external hard drive. I watch them sometimes. The chat appears on the screen, so you can see some of the chat. And it's awesome. I captured Isaac and Skelly talking together for the first time on Twitch. And I didn't know who either of you people were, but I remember I watched virtual memory 7 or whatever, and you guys are like, "Oh, hey Isaac, long time no see.
Nice.
What are you up to lately?"
We've been Facebook friends for an embarrassingly long time. Catching each other on. I remember Chris would always post the dog and the Doritos.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, those were his favorite emojis.
You remember? I did try and make that my signature. I'm glad it lasted. But yeah, no, Isaac and I have been over a decade now.
Yeah, it's wild.
And then, like Lux was saying, their SPF 420 streams are still alive. But
I consulted Isaac when I needed to get music for the first teach-o. I had consulted Isaac.
And I sent you a bunch of 128K future funk tracks. I'm sorry.
Oh, I appreciated it.
Hey, at least I put you on.
I think a lot of people do not realize that, like for me, like Vaporwave was obviously very important for me as an experience.
Yeah, that was actually what I wanted to get. That was the next thing I wanted to get to was the Vaporwave.
Yeah, let's get one more good question in before we go to the audience questions.
And I'm sure they'll ask about this too, but I do want to, since I do have only I do want to get into that Vaporwave stuff. So you're about to lead into it, so I'll just let you take it from here.
What do you want me to talk about with Vaporwave?
I want you to talk about. I'm sure we'll get to the all this stuff eventually, but I want you to talk about just the idea of deciding to take on. I mean, I know you. I very well know why and the motivation as to why you want to do it and the cause, which is very important. But I want to know, what was that feeling like about deciding to actually go through with it and do it and to start organizing it and to figure out how to do this for the first time?
That's actually a great question, because the answer to that is kind of something I touched on earlier. I hate doing it.
Yeah.
Like, again, and I'm saying that just purely objectively. Like, I have said to people before, doing a URL show, hosting a URL show, coordinating a URL show sounds like the biggest nightmare ever, and I never ever want to do it.
Yeah.
And then what happened is, Ailish, Fighting Island in the chat, made a comment as like February 23rd of last year. I looked it up the other day, and they were like, "Hey, listen, I think it's really fucked up how no one in the scene is talking about Palestine." And
I remember this. This is so important.
Say something.
Yeah, I do remember this too.
My first impulse was to be defensive, like, well, I'm so busy, I'm so stressed out, I got so much going on, I'm sorry I can't talk about everything all the time.
I felt very challenged as well.
And then I paused, I stopped myself before I typed that out, and I was like, if we're being honest, I know a lot of artists who know me and trust me. I have like 2 months that are kind of like light on work right now. I could do it. The only thing stopping me from doing this is that I don't want to do it. But
how did you get over that? How did you get over that? The only thing stopping me is deciding to, like, what was going through your mind? Like, I'm just going to do it. Like, that's a big thing, because a lot of people get stuck there.
Yep.
I had to start. I realized this has to be done. Like, I don't want to do this, but it's not going to get done. And I can, like, once I've realized in my mind that I can conceivably do this, to me, it is morally wrong for me to not then do it. Because I recognize I can make a difference. I can do something for someone else, for someone else's, about a really pressing cause in the world. And the only thing stopping me from doing it is, but it would take a lot of work, though, right? And it's like, yeah, it did. But also, it was probably like greatest experiences of my life. You know what I mean? Like,
you seem like you had a really good time.
So worth it. I had a really fun time doing it. It was worth every little bit of frustration. And at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do. I never would have done it if I didn't have somebody who I trusted saying, someone's got to step up and do this. And I held back on my defensiveness because I trust that person and I care about that person. And I'm like, well, what if you said nobody cares about trans rights and I like shit down your throat about it? What does that solve? What is me being defensive about it, or me being, me taking it personally? What does that actually do for anybody? It's like, wow, fuck me for asking, I guess. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I have to do right by my friend. And it was like, I have to do right by, Ailish, my friend, and say, actually, I can do this. And like, who can I ask?
Same.
Well, once I asked those people and they agreed, it's like, well, now I got to do right by all of these people. And I would rather fucking, I can't let these people down.
That's
And
the
so
reason we did Hot Takes Volume 1 as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So shout out
And
Ailish for that.
It's the same attitude of like, I like doing this stuff through Hot Takes. I like working with you guys. I like having, because we are on the
I'm
same
glad you feel
page
that
about
way.
this. Like, oh shit, I can do something about this. And we did. Hot Takes Volume 1 slaps, by the way. There's amazing
It really
music
is
on
good. There's so much good shit on
all
there.
that music would have either not been made or would have been released scattered. It would have been impossible to get it to. You get what I'm saying? Hot Takes Volume
Dude,
1
that
is like,
device operator track is like one of the best tracks I heard that entire year. And there's so much
It's
other
like
good.
30
I wasn't trying to
30
change the subject, but
tracks,
like,
or
shout out
20.
Ailish for, inspiring us to get off our asses and help, And how much is the community raised?
Okay, so total it's like just over 11,000 across both vapor aids.
Yep.
Getting crazy.
Both vapor aids, Hot Takes Volume 1, and then
and that's not even counting Hot Takes Volume 1 because I don't take credit for that, but that added as well. And if you look at Hot Takes Volume 1 especially, I just want to point this out to you all. Hot Takes Volume 1 is 28 tracks, right? If you hadn't made Hot Takes Volume 1, all that music would have likely have been made and released, but what are the odds that you would have heard all 28 of those tracks? That you would have heard all of those albums are released? You probably never would have. And it's a place where all that music has a home now. And when we talk about hot takes from a creative perspective, what does hot takes mean creatively? We can show them Hot Takes Volume 1 and say, hey, listen, this is like the fucking Mr. Nonsense symposium of
amazing comp
of 2024. Because I go back to, I heard a certain somebody, talk about Mr. Nonsense, and I looked him up because I don't know shit about early vaporwave.
I don't know if it was him or me because I know we both love him.
Probably me or Isaac, both of us.
It was, I was both of you actually.
You or Isaac probably mentioned it, or both of us have multiple
I
times.
tried to get him on the show. Unfortunately, he never replied.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
But
he's probably
was worth a shot.
At the end of the day, I think, and this will be my final thought here, but I think that we are kind of like killing ourselves with this false modesty type of thing. And I'm scared as shit right now about everything. But I'm kind of trying to keep a brave face. I'm trying to stay.
Same.
Hey, not only am I trying to stay calm, I'm also just trying to be like collected, so to speak, or cool. I think being cool is praxis, because people feel
very
comfortable around cool people.
I like the way you put that.
I like the way you put that too.
And I owe it to my friends, my loved ones, to not like make them the target of my anxiety and shit. And at the end of the day, when we do these kind of projects, we're letting everyone else be a part of that. Everyone who I asked to play Vapor Aid 1 had said something about, man, this Palestine situation is so fucked up. I wish there was something I could do. And I came in like, there is now. But they already wanted to do it. They already wanted to do it. I didn't do it. I don't take credit for any of that, It's like, it's actually very difficult to get a bunch of people who want to do something to do that thing. It's actually very difficult to get people to follow their dreams. All I can do is follow my dreams. All I can do is see my dreams to their conclusion, and hope that somebody else sees that and says, hey, I have a lot of, I'm like very insecure about my music. I'm very insecure about my art. But also, Quiz is up on Hot Takes. He hasn't even put out a track yet. There are ways to be part of a community. There are ways to get a platform. There are ways to get recognized that are more than just your art. Your art doesn't have to be the only thing that speaks for you. I think conversation and music are very similar. They can be pleasing to the ear. They can teach you something, or they can,
well said.
They can,
well, no, this is very well said. I like this point. This is a very interesting point, and I think it's
the reason I make a dance music, the reason I make pop music, is because it's this part of the same sort of thing. It's about kind of making the area, it's setting the tone, setting the vibe for an area that says, hey, this is a space where we are relaxed, we feel good about ourselves, we're open to self expression. I have. Can anybody in the chat hear my voice? Does my voice sound weird to anybody? I'm running a fucking like effects pedal through my mic.
It's very faint. I think it's cool.
I have a little.
I think it's good. It's just a small touch.
I have to put a little touch of reverb on there.
It's a touch of reverb.
I think it's
I
cool
can hear it,
personally.
and it's cool because, ironically, despite being a singer and doing radio for 5 years, I hate the sound of my own voice.
Unreal.
But it doesn't
Imagine.
even quite sound like my own voice because there's a little bit of reverb, and I don't hate it.
I like that.
Oh my God! Thank you so much for the donations, Obson and Burke.
Oh,
Holy
shit!
shit!
Oh, what? Oh shit! We got another one. Oh, thank you.
And you know what?
AI?
I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that we have 3 already submitted questions thanks to your post on Blue Sky. I'd like to go ahead and open up the question portion of the show tonight, if you don't mind. So go ahead and fill that chat up with questions, you guys. But we're gonna start with 3 specially submitted questions on Blue Sky. Zero Ray had a question for Quiz, and he wanted to know, how do you feel about the scene's dreadfully short memory? About labels backsliding into releasing people with ghoulish political views that were considered absolutely off limits for easy revenue. How worried should we be? Right. How worried should we be about the shorter runs and fewer drops? Are we in Vapor's final era?
Yes.
Zero.
Yes. Well said. Zero Ray.
Okay. How should I put this?
That's a lot.
I'm taking a recommendation here. When I talk about any of this stuff, I want to be very clear
Great
about.
question. Wow.
Somebody,
Yeah,
I think we all agree that we don't like the way things are, and somebody has to do something. I am doing something. If you like what I'm doing, you can hit me up, and I'll try to get you involved. You know, but if you don't like what I'm doing, or you don't like how I'm doing it, or anything like that, I don't care. I just want everyone to realize that we have to all do something. We all have to take action. Whether that's political action, that's artistic action. All of these things are really important right now. And to put a point on this, like everyone's, oh, I hate Twitter drama. I hate scene drama. I stay away from drama. I'm so tired of drama. Well, what if that drama is your friend is being harassed by fuckheads, and no one is standing up for them because they hate drama?
Well said.
Leonidas called me chaotically supportive, and I kind of fucked with that.
I love that.
You probably can't read this, but that right there says Punks with Lunch, right? That is the group that I was doing my harm reduction work with. I'm a fucking Philly punk, baby. I don't give a shit if, you know, you don't like the taste of the medicine. You know, you gotta swallow it if you're sick. At the end of the day, I'm trying to put as much sugar on this bitch as I can, but we have crossed a Rubicon with society where you can't just sit on your ass and say it doesn't affect me. It's not gonna bother me. And I don't care what you do. I don't care if you agree with me. I mean, if you're a right winger, Republican, like, kill yourself. But I'm. We cut out for a.
You heard it on Hot Takes.
If you were on this sort of side of fucking giving a shit about people and empathy, and you know, if you're gonna do like an indie advent and make the open statement about anti-fascism in the scene, no one has done that. You know,
that
what
was
I mean?
hard
It
as fuck. Shout out Utopia District for that. So many people got so pissed.
When Utopia District did that, they got so much like pushback and shit on our vaporwave because people were trying to say, "Oh, you can't do that.
I just want to escape reality.
You're not allowed to do that. You know, this is my playground. You can't come in here and bring the real world into it." Ooh. And the answer is, who gives a shit? Like, I'm doing it. I haven't always, and I'm willing to admit my flaws as much as anyone, because I haven't been perfect. I'm rarely perfect. I spent most of today being very imperfect. But the thing is, things still have to move. Things still have to happen, even if it's imperfectly. And so Indy in the chat actually, hey, what's up? I am thinking about doing a cover of a punk song. I'll drop this just because it's fun. I kind of want to do the song "Refuse Resist" by Sepultura, but like
Oh,
funk
wow.
style, but as like a funk song.
Gosh, interesting.
That's a really
So,
cool
like,
idea. I thought you were going to
that's
say
what
you
I've
were going to
been
do a
trying to
Refused
work
song, though, so I got really
on.
excited.
Because I think that song is very politically relevant, and like, but here's the thing, I veer away from that a little bit only because it's a little like saying Nazi punks fuck off feels really good, but the problem is it feels too good and it feels like doing something.
That's a good distinction to make.
So
That's a
anyway,
good point.
To answer Zero's question, I absolutely think the vaporwave scene is going down an unhealthy trajectory. If you want proof of that, see what's happening with the bootlegger scene. The bootlegger
Real
scene,
shit.
like actively trying to undercut bands like DDS by bootlegging their vinyl and saying, "Well, the people demand that they must own this first DDS album on vinyl, or their lives are meaningless." So if DDS doesn't want to print 1,000 copies of this, then we'll do it for them. And it's like, cool, like you guys are killing this band that you care so much about, apparently. And let's be
Or
honest,
claim to,
right?
yeah.
Like, it's been affecting Lux. I mean, as Lux gets way too much shit in this scene from people simply from just being an outspoken woman in this scene. And it's like, when we let people, insult her and bootleg her albums and say, well, I heard that Luxury Elite doesn't like vinyl because of the environment, and that's bad. Who gives a shit? It's her music. It's her life. It's literally her life. It's music about her life. It's her lived experience. You have no right to say shit about it. You shut up and listen, or you don't. And these people don't even listen to the record. They just put it up on the wall, and they want to see, oh, look, I got world class on vinyl. If I'm gonna book Luxury Elite in for a show in Philly, and I'm gonna say, oh, we're gonna have a signing session. If anybody brings world class on vinyl, I'm gonna fucking smash it in front of them, and I'm gonna say,
Whoa.
take that home. No one else has one of those. That's a one of one, baby.
Hard as fuck.
That's how I feel about that.
Are we ready for the next question?
Are we ready?
I hate to cut a man off because that was so good. Bell Stardust. Shout out Bell Stardust.
The answer to this is to work together. To work together. Let's put money out of it. None of us are making that much money on music, or those of us who are making money are having trouble making that. We maybe just need to put money aside and do what strikes us in our hearts. We need to like work together, form collectives, form groups. Zero is already forming a collective in Belgium. They're doing so much awesome shit in the slushwave scene. It has to be commented on. They're doing like festivals over there, and they're selling out. And
I'm trying to make it out to one of those.
Those guys are working together, and it's happening. People are going to a place in Belgium I cannot pronounce, and it's selling out this fucking show because they're working together instead of in competition, and we need to do that too.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
All right. Shout out Fighting Island for the donation. Thank you, by the way. Bell Stardust would like to hear your take on tapes versus vinyl. Any angle you can go for. Quality, fun, display, whatever.
So I had this I wasn't sure if this was shout out Signal Wave Discord. Signal Wave, Slushwave communities are really thriving right now. I think we could learn a thing or two from just how those communities are thriving and doing their thing. And those scenes are big enough to split off on their own if they really wanted to, but let's not give them a reason to. Let's continue making the vaporwave space a welcoming place where artistic expression is valued and people's personhood is valued. Because if we stop doing that, people are just going to stop showing up. They're going to find something else. They don't have to call it vaporwave. They can just call it something else.
Facts.
Anyway, so tape versus vinyl. This is kind of going back to the very first question about how I got into music. Because I'm kind of doing this crate digging type of perspective to music. Like, I'm always doing research and trying to find like who was the first kind of band to do this, or who was early on kind of starting the sound. Most of my records are not recent presses. They're mostly from like the 80s and 70s. Ooh, awesome. And I think you have to think about that because I own a lot of city pop on vinyl because it is some of the most
That's very cool.
well-produced music, and it was produced for vinyl. It's available on CD, but it was produced for vinyl. If you listen to the CD master of a city pop song, it sounds like it came out this year. But I don't want that. I want it to sound like how it came out, you know? And I bought a Dream Theater album again, on vinyl, and I put it on, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm not an audiophile. I don't have a very cultured or discerning ear, but this is absolutely just the CD mix of this album that they pressed directly on vinyl, and it just sounds exactly like how the CD sounds. And it made me realize I can tell when it doesn't, it's not mixed or mastered for vinyl.
That's really interesting.
You can tell that a lot of the times, and a lot of the music, like, again, all this 80s metal, it sounds amazing on vinyl. On CD, it sounds very thin. And the CD remasters of those songs, they bump up all the bass on it, but then it loses a lot of the atmosphere. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite metal album is Rust in Peace by Megadeth. It sounds like it was recorded in like a giant empty hangar. It's very echoey and kind of like, it doesn't have a lot of bass to it. But the CD remaster has none of that character. It just sounds kind of like every other metal release.
Disappointing.
So I have like certain stuff that I like on tape is stuff like hip hop, like Wu-Tang, very dirty sounding production there. It's gonna sound like it's gonna give me like anxiety if I listen to this on vinyl and I hear all of that like noise and grime. I'm gonna think that my record is like fucked up somehow. So I listen to that on tape, so I know I don't have to worry about that. And if it was something like 80s or 70s like rock, I love getting techno like records from like the 90s or something that was mixed for vinyl. I get that on vinyl. I own very little vaporwave on vinyl. I don't really see the point because most of the recordings aren't made for vinyl. I mean, many of them are, but I'm saying like, again, like World Class. That's not an album that was designed to be listened to on vinyl. If you buy the vinyl, it's gonna sound at best like the tape, and I have the tape, so
Definitely agree with your remarks about the tape.
Very good point.
I'm on record as saying I think that's the best way for vaporwave to be listened to.
And when I put on a record, it's a whole process. I clean the record. Bell has seen this firsthand. I clean it. I go through a whole process of cleaning it every time, and I put the sleeve up. But sometimes I just want to put on an album, Sometimes I just want to throw some shit on and not have to get up in 20 minutes to flip it. So
fair.
Tape. Then tape comes through for me. And I have a really nice tape deck. I have a tape deck from the 70s, like a Sony tape deck. It's a fucking brick, and it sounds awesome. It's about as good as I think tapes can probably sound. So,
very cool.
Okay, I see we have a question that you just pinned.
Yeah.
Should I take that one?
Well, let's get the Celadon Dream Suite question on Blue Sky really quick. Let's do them chronologically, if you don't mind. Celadon Dream Suite would like to know. They said, I'd love to get your take on using song samples from outside your culture in vaporwave. For example, Orientalism, and if there's a way to do it thoughtfully / appropriately.
I have a really interesting perspective on cultural appropriation, I think, because people kind of like have a weird relationship with Indian culture in general. People are either really into it or it's kind of something that they don't fuck with at all, And I think at the end of the day, it has been a recurring theme that I'm in a few Indian film communities, and they love when Westerners watch Indian movies. Like, they love that shit. They love.
Oh, that's badass. Okay.
They love when Westerners do like a dance. They cover a dance they saw in a movie, or they do a cover of a song, or they use the song in their reels or something. And it's just something where I look back at it and I think like, man, I think the appropriation question is tough because everybody wants this stuff to be heard. There's like almost where like, to me, appropriation is when you try to do like a very generic, stereotypical Indian type of sound.
Yeah,
I think that sort of thing doesn't happen too much anymore anyway, because we all can kind of tell. We can always tell when someone does like a Japanese themed release and it feels fetishizing, like they don't understand Japanese culture. It's just weird to them. We can kind of all tell that. I'm not even that worried about that, because I was watching a video this past week. I've been listening to a lot of Sumerian music.
Whoa.
There's a guy on YouTube who has is like covering like the Epic of Gilgamesh as like
Oh my god.
with like ancient Sumerian like harps and shit. It's a white guy. Sumer is in the Middle East, right? It's not a culture he's from. But if he is the guy doing the research of what this music sounded like, reconstructing these instruments, reconstructing the lyrics, reconstructing the story of Gilgamesh,
Using defunct instruments, basically.
Yeah, goddamn.
That's fascinating.
Well said.
So
Defunct instruments.
I think that's honestly more important than anything else at this point. Like, if you are willing to put the time in, and you're willing to show care and respect for that culture, you should be allowed to engage in whatever part of it you have access to, as long as you're not doing so at the expense of other people. And that's even rarely the case. Like, we don't have a problem where like, oh, the theaters for Indian movies are so full of white guys that the Indian families can't go see them anymore. Like, that's not happening. I think we kind of psych ourselves out about this, but like, I think anybody can sample Indian music if they want to. I would love to see how anybody in the chat would take their spin on that music, because at the end of the day, Indian music takes a lot of Western music too. It's basically just a dialogue that goes both ways. Indians pioneered trance music, and at the end of the day,
yeah, like Goa trance.
Oh, Goa. Yeah.
Goa. My family is from Goa. So I am very in favor of doing that. I think people should, in general, be less afraid of engaging with world music, and just remember, just don't show up like you own the place. Take your shoes off at the door. Don't gatekeep it from other people.
Take your shoes off
this
at
guy
the
who
door.
made us ancient.
Take your shoes off at the door.
I like that. That's a great metaphor. That's a quotable.
Come over to my apartment. Also leave
said.
at the door. That is a hard rule we have here.
Take your shoes off at the door.
Over.
Because those white people be wearing their shoes indoors.
I don't know about that, man. It's crazy. There's all kind of. I live in Philadelphia, bro.
I mean, listen, man. Listen, I may or may not be guilty. Now, I do draw the line at wearing your shoes to bed, though. I don't know what's wrong with those people.
Wearing your shoes to bed?
Alcoholics in the chat. He gave me so much shit for wearing jeans to bed once.
You wear jeans to bed?
Like it was cold.
You heard it on Hot Takes.
I was sharing a bed with Discoholic, and he was wearing boxers. So I was like, if I was wearing boxers too, like, we're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're basically like consummating our
definitely
relationship
putting
at
the
that
flames
point.
gif up right
and
now.
I was like, is that okay? Do I know him like that? And then I was like, I just fell asleep before I could decide. And I was so cold, it was cold in the apartment, in the hotel, so I didn't take my jeans off. And the next day he wakes up and he goes, bro, you're wearing fucking jeans to bed? I was like, shut up, man.
Hilarious.
So
all right, next question. Nyoka Shoje, what is your favorite era of Voivod?
Oh, dude, I actually think the modern Voivod shit is really my favorite, because they are bringing in a lot of kind of other influence. Like, they're staying true to the thrash stuff. It's still thrashy, it's still technical, it's still dissonant. But because the two new members in the band, Rocky and Chewy, are both jazz guys, they just have a huge... They have a very deep understanding on what the unique sound of Voivod is, and the chord progressions and note choice is very particular. It was a trend for a lot of the past decade to do like death metal or black metal that was like a ripping off of Voivod chord progressions and calling it like, oh, it's dissonant, oh, it's like angular riffs, and it's like they never got it. It's not just like play every note that you know. It's like there is a rhyme or reason to it. I talked to Jason Newsted once. I called into a radio show and Jason Newsted was the guest.
Oh, hard.
And I want to talk about Voivod, and we pissed off the host. Tell me if this sounds familiar. We pissed off the host because he wanted to talk too much. Because he was like, no, I want to talk about Voivod. I don't take any more questions. I want to talk about Voivod. And he said that the guitarist in Voivod tunes his guitar to a do re mi type of scale. And he was just like, I'd never seen anyone else do that before. But it's like he was tuning his guitar totally different than anyone else was even tuning their guitar. So, it was a very unique style that he had, and modern Voivod not only respects that, but they're actually managing to kind of grow on it. And if you listen to the past couple of Voivod records, punk is shit. Literally all about society. It's all about consumerism. It's all about all of this shit. They are actually one of the bands who are most directly commenting on like.
So you wait. I wanted to just quick. So you called in and you were talking to Jason Newstead, and you got him to mostly talk about Voivod.
Yeah, because
And
you
so
know,
you kind of derailed any Metallica
but
questions, basically.
I don't have any questions about Metallica. I had questions
I know.
about.
I'm sure the host probably wanted to talk about Metallica living.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, next call," and he's like, "Wait, I still have some stuff I want to talk about." And he like
Top
he, like,
5
stopped
quiz
us.
moments.
He like took over. I talked to him for like half an hour.
He's like, "I want to talk about Voivod now, Nick.
Yeah,
No more Metallica questions." Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's a very interesting idea of a band who became an aesthetic, but they didn't become a genre. They became an aesthetic because people tried to imitate their unique guitar sound without understanding the music theory behind it. They heard it was chaotic, so they just kind of played whatever. But it's not chaotic. There's a logic that goes on, and because bands didn't understand that logic, they made stuff that sounded like a Voivod imitator, but never sounded like Voivod. And the only band that has ever really done right at sounding like Voivod is Voivod.
Hell yeah. MP3 Neptune has a question.
Oh yeah.
Are there things you look for in metal that you don't necessarily look for in electronic music, or vice versa? Are there things in common that you look for in both styles? Tremendous question.
Absolutely. Like I tend toward faster and a slightly more technical side of metal, like not again like technical thrash, like Voivod type of stuff, like technical thrash, not like the super like Animals as Leaders, super technical stuff. But I like speed. I've always loved speed.
Same.
And Gabber for me, or like some breakcore, like it hits that kind of like that like adrenaline rush of listening to really fast drum. Really fast music that I like for in metal as well. I think that in metal, it's it's obviously it's great music when you're angry. It's great music when you're at the gym. But at the same time, metal is great to listen to when I'm angry. But I don't really want to be angry that often anymore. And when I am angry, I'm usually trying to find something that will help me be not angry, and that's something that will comfort me in my anger, because I don't like being angry. I spent a lot of today being angry about things, and I was just like, I hate this. I really hate this. It's miserable.
Yeah,
for
it
me.
sucks. I don't like it either.
Resolve all this shit, so I'm not angry anymore. So it would be wrong of me to kind of like wallow in that by listening to metal exactly. But still, there are still things to be angry about in the world for sure.
All right. Luxury Elite would like to know, of all the IRL Vaporwave show experiences you've had throughout the years, quiz, what are some that really stand out to you regarding favorite memories?
Oh man, so I mean, so many, so many. I can't imagine. I mean, I have pictures of a lot of them. I mean, meeting you guys, at shows.
Yup.
I have so many, like, it's just crazy to me. Like, the first Terminally Chill I went to dinner with Fanta Cat, Fiber, and Disco.
Oh, I miss Fanta.
And we were like, we were expecting Skelly to come, and Skelly couldn't make it. So I'm here at dinner at this like bistro.
I was saying at the damn show. I couldn't make it because Terminally Chill is gonna happen. Someone had to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No.
Someone has to take the napkin off
After
the
enjoying
plate.
your meal, you and Fanta Cat.
Someone had to show up at load in at 3 p.m.
Show, guys.
Continue.
I'm sorry. I was just joking.
But it was just funny because I'm now here with like Skelly is the one guy I kind of know about these people. I know Fiber and Disco from being a fan, but I don't like have that personal relationship with them. But
we had talked
because I'm not gonna sit here and make them feel fucking awkward because I'm like a fanboy. And I think that's really important. I think that's something I try to do, is that y'all have to recognize when being like a fan of someone is flattering versus when it's like low-key kind of dehumanizing. A lot of people, especially in the scene, I mean, those of a lot of people who are like anonymous, especially like we're not here to be like, oh my god, it's this guy, oh my god, like that, like that's uncomfortable for people. You know what I mean? Like I don't Like, I don't think I'm better than anyone else. I don't think I'm like a, you know, whatever. Like, I don't want to be treated that way either, but like people will still treat me that way, and I'm just kind of like, yo, dog, like I have nothing but thanks for like the esteem and the respect people have for me, but I need you to understand that part of my worldview, part of my bedrock of how I associate with people is that I'm not better than you. I'm not, you know, I don't care if you're famous or whatever. There is one divide that exists where I think there are people who have really immersed themselves in art and have become changed by art. And those are a different breed of people. Most of those people end up becoming musicians and end up becoming successful at being musicians. But you don't have to be. The success is totally secondary to that. You know, like Bee Fant is an example of someone who I would say is so deeply like, you know, watches a movie and gets every little detail.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? They'll watch a 4-hour movie and notice the one time that a track got reprised in the score.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they are immersed in it at that level. And you know, Bee was a celebrity to me, in my opinion, because I would see people with the Bee Fant profile picture, and I'm like, damn, maybe one day
Someone got Bee Fanted.
I'll be on that level. You know what I mean? To get the Bee Fant profile picture drawn of me, and I realized, like, as I got to know them better, like there is a like you have a very deep and broad understanding of art and music, and are associating with like.
Oh yeah.
They do.
I wish my taste was as refined as Bee Fant's.
Oh yeah, they have a great taste.
Like weeby Vocaloid stuff, and like also with like classical music, and fully understanding the value of both. You know, like I'm not a huge K-pop fan, but James Webster is a huge fucking K-pop fan, and he did a Terminally Chill set that was like all K-pop, and I said, from this day forth, I shall speak no evil on K-pop because that shit
Right.
slapped. And I was clearly talking shit out of ignorance.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome, and he proved me wrong. And my motto for the year, my New Year's resolution, is that I'm not arguing with people anymore. When people give me advice, I just take it. I don't say no. I don't try to what if. I just take it. If someone says, "Hey, dude, you should go on Hot Takes," and I'm like, I don't think I've earned it. I don't know if but someone, you know, said I think you should be on Hot Takes. Well, I mean Isaac, obviously, but so I'm here. I don't necessarily think I should be on here, maybe, but I'm sticking to it. I'm taking all the advice that anyone gives me that I trust, that I know already, and it hasn't led me wrong yet. It hasn't led me wrong. I'm surrounded by very smart and very cultured people, and when they say something and I listen to it, I learn way more than if I tried to argue with them.
That's very wise, man. Respect to you for that. KJ Valium's got a great question. I want to make sure I pronounce these names right, so I'm gonna pin him. I'm gonna put him in chat.
Sharinian.
Kevin
Sharinian.
Moore,
Sharinian.
Derek Sharinian, or Jordan Rudess.
Yo, I got in with the Jordan Rudess era, and I like him, but it's gotta be Kevin Moore to me. That dude is a pure, like an architect of emotion. He's building houses out of keys. He's building houses and furnishing them with his keyboard work. And all these other motherfuckers are just playing. They're just playing it. But there was a level of emotion, the early Dream Theater, that was this kind of snobby New York art school type of pretension, and that shit actually low-key really rocked, and I love that era of them so much, because it was so sincere. They were so arrogant. They really thought they were better than everyone else, and they kind of were. I mean, when Images and Words came out, that's still like, they defined the genre of prog metal. No one else will top that. And I love that. I love when artists are arrogant. I think artists are entitled to arrogance in their art. I think they're entitled to be feeling themselves, because when they're feeling themselves and not second guessing themselves, they make really good art. You know,
Very
and
well said.
They're all human beings, so I trust that your arrogance in your art does not extend to you being like a shithole in real life. But I think we should own that. You know what I mean? We should fucking, you know.
You got to be you.
Yeah, Rudess is showboaty. He overlaps too much with Petrucci is the problem. Like they're both just shredding their balls off, and it's cool. But there's parts where I'm like, this keyboard line kind of sounds like this guitar line. They kind of they're fitting different. They're fitting the same niche in the song. Whereas even Derek Sherinian was playing a different style. He was doing something a little bit different with that. And I think I can really draw a line to the entire feeling, the immersion of the Dream Theater albums based on which keyboardist played on them. They feel like movies early on, and you know, after Jordan Rudess era, they kind of feel a bit more like albums. You know, it's kind of missing that bigger picture. Phenomenal playing. But again, there's more to life than playing.
Indie Advent would like to know, do you like math rock like Chon?
I like a little bit of math rock. I really fuck with the Fall of Troy. I think like that type of stuff is really where I intersect with math rock, where it's kind of on that kind of punk. Dillinger Escape Plan, if that counts.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Like metalcore meets math rock.
You listen to Botch?
What? Who? Oh no, I've heard of them though.
Chris, you are completely out of the frame, Chris. No one can see your face.
What? I'm gonna
Much
go get
better.
a drink really quick. Hold on.
Oh, that's true.
Time
That
for
is
the
true.
Skelly still.
Metropolis Part 2 feels like a Kevin Moore album to me, and I think that's really that's good praise. They nailed it on that one. I mean, I love Octavarium and I love Train of Thought. Train of Thought gets a little silly, but I love Dream Theater. I love loving bands that other people think suck. People hate Dream
Nice.
Theater. Dream Theater is like every negative cliche about like neckbeard Reddit metal that exists. But listen, I'm here because of Linkin Park. Oh, where's my video?
I threw up the still by accident. I was trying to
Yeah,
take
yeah.
I was trying to take Chris's still down. My bad.
I like that.
That was actually Rhythm of the Night. That picture.
Oh, hard. Yeah, that's a great photo picture.
The photographer took it. But the thing is, I like that because I grew up being a Linkin Park fan. I was a grown ass adult before I realized, wait, people hate Linkin Park. I thought everyone liked this band. Like, no, people think this is cringy, like whiny garbage. I didn't know that.
I mean, if you're not a fan of new metal, you may not like it, but like they're indisputably the best
I didn't even
new
realize
metal ever had.
Are you counting Deftones when you say that, sir?
Okay,
sure
all
about
right.
that?
Deftones is like new metal
Hold a
adjacent.
second. Hold on.
Hot take. New metal isn't real. New metal isn't real. Deftones, System of a Down, Linkin Park, Mudvayne.
Okay.
There is no
Yes, I do
metal
think
in
Linkin
the
Park.
category.
I
It
do
is
like
not
them better than
anything like each
Deftones.
other.
I'm sorry.
You're a lunatic.
I'm
That's
sorry.
crazy.
Linkin
That's
Park.
the
Look, okay, the guy's
I've ever heard in my
extremely
life.
skilled and he's done a lot of beautiful things, but this is subjective. This is not objective.
What is that? The craziest thing I've ever heard
This
in my
is
life.
subjective.
People who don't like metal music can still like the Deftones. They're
I
so
like
good. It's
Deftones.
like
They just Warren is.
This is
you know,
also
like-
because like I don't like the band that you guys keep talking about.
That's fair.
Which one?
Linkin Park.
Linkin Park.
I don't like Linkin Park.
Oh yeah, and I
But
love
that's
that.
okay.
It's
I
one of
love
those
that.
things that, like, if you grew up with it, it's meaningful to you.
It'd be different. I listen to ska music. Who wants to listen? You don't need to listen to me.
I don't want to
listen
listen to that. I don't want to
right?
listen to that.
Don't worry about what I have to
Hey,
say about
the
Linkin
beautiful thing about art is there's something for everybody.
That's actually what I like. The thing
Do
is,
you fuck
I don't
with
like
Team
having all
Sleep?
the same taste. I don't like this culture that we've had, where it's like, oh, I looked at 4chan music boards top 100 albums, and that's what I like. Like, oh, I just, 'cause it's like I need to get into music. I'm gonna find this list of music. Yeah, I like all this music, so it's highly rated. This is my taste now. Like, who cares?
Lip skank.
You guys,
Skeleton lip skank.
you guys.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna when I sign out today, I'm gonna put on Hello Rock You by Less Than Jake.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
You
that
guys
electro
don't
swing
like-
stuff's all right.
You guys,
Definitely it's not.
Isaac,
I'm
you've been
joking.
timed out for mentioning Electro Swing.
Just kidding.
But my point is, you guys, many of you in the chat, I'm sure, don't think Linkin Park is cool.
I think a lot of people like Linkin Park. I think that like I'm surprised. Like, I'm the one in the minority here. I always listened to it. I was like, I don't like this. This is silly. I thought it was very silly music. I thought it was very silly, but I'm wrong apparently. History has proven me wrong. So listen to me.
No. Here's the thing. I don't want you to pretend like you like it.
Oh, don't worry, I won't. I'm not going to.
Because I know you know this. But
I just when everyone else starts talking about Linkin Park, I just try and be polite and be like, really, this is like angsty in a silly way. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go listen to ska.
Fair.
But like, I know you guys all probably heard it when you were 11, and I was too old for it.
My whole point is, you may not think Linkin Park is cool.
I know. Don't worry.
Cool, and I think Linkin Park is cool.
Listen,
so
I mean, once again, I listen to ska, so don't worry about anything that I have to say.
I have some Yugoslavian ska for you, by the way. I have to find the name of the artist.
Wow.
I was listening to this, like, oh, this is good, and I was like, oh god, and I came up to like my partner. Shout out to Zoe, by the way.
Shout out Zoe.
I came out to her and I was just like, I kind of like she was on the couch and I kind of like got on my knees and I was just like kind of clasped my hands and I was like, can you listen to this song and tell me if it's ska? And she listened to it. She's like, this is definitely ska. And I'm just like,
that's great.
Yes.
But okay, I'll type it in the chat. But there's one band that I like. So, but no,
ska band that you like?
I don't want us all to like the same shit because at the end of the day, like it's that passion that matters. Like, I'm really tired of the sense of like, well, that's just my take though. Everyone's entitled to their belief. Like, that's 7 words I'll never get back. I didn't count, but that's like 7 words I'll never get back. I'd rather say anything else than everyone's entitled to their opinion. Of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Like, you can't make people not entitled to their opinion. The thing is, I can belabor you and I can like societally or implicitly pressure you into saying you like something. I don't want to do that, dude. Like what you like. Like, I want you to be honest with me.
Right.
I don't want you to say anything under duress,
We have,
and I know most people in this maybe circle, especially even the metal scene, like don't like Linkin Park. I think that's great because it just it shows that it feels meaningful because it speaks to me.
Yeah, that's good. That's the way you put that.
Like mass market slop that's designed to appeal to everybody. They went out of their, even though it's very popular music, they went out of their way to make it very idiosyncratic. And at the end of the day, I respect that.
We had a burst of questions that I'd like to try to rapid fire get through because we're almost done.
Damn, that's true.
Yeah, I know. So, rapid fire. Luxury Elite, you mentioned Bee's immersion in movies, but I know you're also a massive fan of films. What are some of your favorites?
I always tell people my favorite film is RoboCop.
Hell
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I actually knew that already, but yeah.
I have so much RoboCop.
I knew that already from you, but obviously,
I want to be clear about the fact that like I don't really think about stuff in terms of favorites, but when someone's asking your favorites, they're kind of like describe. It's kind of like describe yourself in 4 movies. I think it's
You're right. Good
RoboCop, point. For sure. Hard Boiled by John Woo.
Oh my God, so good. Love
Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee.
Also so good. I love that one too.
And there's a Tamil film called Jigartanda, which is a type of milkshake. And I will literally stream that movie for anyone at any time if they want, because it honestly changed like my life and how I think about art, how I think about being an artist, how I allow art to change me. It's a movie about allowing art to change you. And the cool guy loses, and the guy who's willing to be uncool because he's sincere wins. And it really resonates with me because it's like, if you let your heart open and you let art change you, the world is your oyster. If you're too cool for it and you're only worried about like the kind of material aspects or looking cool or having esteem or having clout, you run in circles forever.
Hard choices. G_oons would like to know, what is your favorite weird instrument in metal/rock?
That's an interesting question because one gripe I have with metal is that a lot of it feels very gimmicky to me. I don't really like a lot of the genre blends in metal. Like there's some jazz metal that like kind of works, but a lot of times it just kind of it feels a little forced. But I've got to say that you will never go wrong with using any kind of percussion. I think everyone should be using more percussion all the time. So like Sepultura, another band who used lots of percussion on their albums, like Brazilian, like indigenous percussion.
That's so
I'm always
badass.
down with that. You can't go wrong with that. Or any kind of like violin or lower register string instrument. So like a
cello.
Chinese like zhang or something like that. All very cool. Cello, love cello.
Me too.
Modern metal is definitely overproduced. Overproduction has killed metal.
I
Metal is
thoroughly agree. Holy shit.
overproduced. It all sounds the same.
It's got to be grunge. It's got to be like
A lot of
raw.
best metal sounds bad. One of my favorite albums of all time is Dark Angel, Darkness Descends, and that album sounds like mush. It sounds like listening to mashed potatoes, but also it's so atmospheric. It feels like you plugged your fucking MP3 player 3.5 millimeter jack into a tombstone. That's what it sounds like, and you can't get out half of the fucking notes. And it's at like 280 BPM, but it's fucking sick because it's about like a plague killing everybody in the city. It's like a Judge Dredd thing. So it fits. It's atmospheric. It works.
Hell yeah.
It's a lot of character to that. There's a thrash metal album by a band called Annihilator that has like this like 90s like heavy fuzz guitar. They plug it in these kind of like stoner rock fuzz pedals, and they're playing like super fucking fast, and it sounds awful because the it's the fuzz and reverb are like blurring together, and it sounds like terrible. But it's also cool. Nothing else sounds like that. That album wouldn't be as cool if it sounded right.
Hell yeah. Hotita9494, do you dig trip hop? Any under the radar or overlooked artists you like?
Oh, sorry. What was the first part?
I just deleted it. I believe they asked if you dug trip hop.
Oh yeah, I mean,
why did I delete that? That
I
was
really
stupid.
like, here's my trip hop stance. Nujabes is obviously the goat,
Nice.
but there is a guy
Nujabes,
called
yeah.
Bee who worked with Nujabes. He worked with a lot of the art and continues to work with a lot of the artists who worked with Nujabes, and so I think that Marcus D is kind of like the inheritor of that sound. He samples all from vinyl, all from Japanese vinyl. Again, like he knew the guy. He was taught, some basics of like DJing and music creation and production by Nujabes before he passed away. And Nujabes absolutely is an example of appropriation where people are just trying to bite his style, and none of that lo-fi hip hop like algorithm shit has an ounce of emotion to it. You listen to every Nujabes song, it's just loaded with emotion. It's every artist on a Nujabes track is like rapping or singing like they're dying. Like it's like they're saying their they're all like they literally have one song it's called like
Final
Thank
Meal
You,
type
and
beat.
it's like the rapper is just like, thank you for letting me be on this song, thank you for supporting me, thank you for everything. It's just them being grateful for the whole song, and that shit is appropriated as hell because they get imitated without the emotion behind it. And Marcus D is doing that. He has a comp called The Cool Volume 2. It's on streaming, it's on Bandcamp, you can look at it on tape. So Marcus D, The Cool, and that shit rocks. And that's a sampler of artists who are kind of in that boom bap kind of like style. So it's not exactly trip hop. Like it's not exactly answering your question because we're talking like Massive Attack type of stuff. I'm not as knowledgeable about that, but I hope that's a good answer.
Looking it up right now.
One more.
I actually only have Volume 2, Lux. I've never actually even seen Volume 1.
Well, yikes.
And I have number 2 on tape because boom bap on tape. It just makes sense.
A real good question by Indie Advent. Wants to know what your thoughts are about Fish.
I have actually never listened to Fish. I'm not sure that I have the musical. Like for me, Fish is a band where you get really intimately acquainted with their songs, and then you can appreciate how they're performed differently on different like live shows and stuff. And it's just kind of like I really fuck with. I think it's an amazing way to experience music and to engage with music, but it feels like it takes a lot of time for me, I guess.
Yeah, no
And
shit.
if you listen to like one Fish
A
album, and be
20-minute
like,
song,
I
I'm good.
because like Fish and like you know the Dead, it's all like it's a way of experiencing music. You gotta listen to the live tapes and the bootlegs and compare them. And if you're the kind of person like me where you might listen to 2 live recordings and not really hear a difference, you may not appreciate it as much. Real quick, also, Solo Dolo said, "What is that genre that sounds like D&D music?" That is called Dungeon Synth.
Dungeon synth.
That is Solo.
Dungeon.
What's up, Solo? Yeah, Dungeon
And
Synth.
that's Mr. Mojo, right?
For some reason, I thought that was a joke question. My bad.
Listen, you know, why Yugoslavian Cold Wave? Because I was shopping at Sit and Spin Records in South Philly, and they had this tape listed under synthwave, and I'm like, how the fuck is this synthwave? It's from 1983. It's on the tape, and it just happened to be that it was a Cold Wave album that's kind of lumped over. It was like they had synthwave in '83, so I picked it up, and it was that Yugoslavian John, and it was really good. So I went down a rabbit hole for that.
We're gonna go ahead. And...
For the record, the Yugoslavian scene, like again, there was a civil war. Their country broke apart. You know, there's a genocide, at least one. There are arguably multiple genocides. Most of the people who made that music, they were like they're like 20 to 23 when they made that music, and most of them died.
Sheesh,
so that's another.
Dark.
It adds a lot to it. Where I'm like, you know, to kind of go back to Celadon's question, if he's still listening at this point in the VOD, it's actually like I asked myself, am I appropriating this music? And the answer to me is like, there's one of these guys that I know for sure is still alive, and all the rest of them are dead. They would be in like their 40s or whatever now. It's not old age that killed them. They died in the war, or from being displaced, or just anything. And so it's like, well, if I'm worried about appropriating it, but I'm also worried about it dying out. And if I make the passion for it palpable, if I talk about it and I have a platform and I promote those artists, then I can help that stuff live and find a second life.
Well said.
There is some Voivod stuff recorded with an orchestra, with like a horn section from an orchestra, so it's about as close as you'll get to ska.
Voice God does exist.
The End of Dormancy EP is like Voivod with like a horn section from an orchestra.
Oh shit, we lost him.
No,
Chris,
it's okay.
Your camera shit itself.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. We're almost done. You can go to bed.
I'm back. What are you doing now? I'm back.
Let's go ahead and start our shout out section.
My phone died, so
I know you have a. Oh hell yeah! I know you have a lot to say, Quiz.
Oh yeah, true. I do.
Let's start our shout out section. You get to say anything you want.
I'll still take questions from people like on Blue Sky or whatever.
Yeah, please do. Keep it coming. But anything you want to say, promote, anyone you want to shout out, anything you've got coming on up, please let us know before we end the episode.
I didn't get a chance to talk about this. After the success of Vaporwave, I am starting a artist collective called the Artifaqt Collective. It is designed to basically bring together the people who made Vaporade happen and to kind of like do more shit like Vaporade. So we kind of have a group of people. I want to be clear that it's not really about like you're in or out of the collective. It's that like it's the people that I work with the most often, and I want to work with other groups. So it's like if you're doing your thing in your scene and you kind of represent, let's say, the cloud rap scene in Tennessee, and you think it would go off at a Vaporwave show, I want to make those kind of connections.
Yes.
So the point of the Artifaqt Collection is to kind of do these kind of big scale events like Vaporade. We're working on like some compilations and stuff. We kind of have a different spin on it. Like we want to do take a different spin on compilations where they're like curated basically from the bottom up, and all the artists are working together from day one of the comp, instead of it being like artists working on tracks in isolation. But it's just to kind of continue this community sort of aspect toward making art, and like just friends helping each other, or like getting people involved in things. But I really want everybody who is watching this to just think about how can you get involved in your community? How can you get involved with protecting people who are kind of at risk right now? If you have any questions about that kind of stuff, hit that Discord link, come to Discord, we'll talk to you. We might explain some things if you're curious about like what the state of the world is like. We have an obligation right now, and it's not like like I said, somebody's got to do something. Everyone has to do something. I'm doing something. You don't have to do what I'm doing, but do something. We all are leftist and woke enough to kind of know what needs to be done, but we need to actually do it. It's at the point where we're not enough anymore.
Well said. Anything else you got for us tonight?
I mean, and something like, we'll bring back Vapor Aid. We'll obviously terminally chill. We'll do shows in Philly. And I guess it's just tough. I want to shout out everybody. Like, shout out to the Hot Take Gang. Shout out to the Block. I see a lot of homies from the Block Discord.
Very cool. Thank you guys for being here.
Local homies, you know what I mean? Again, I'm just trying to practice what I preach. I'm just trying to build a community. I don't want people to put me on some kind of pedestal. I don't want people to think that like I'm the answer to your problems. At the very least, if I am anything to you, let it be that I motivate you to follow your own dreams and follow your own star. And whatever your dream is, I want to see it. You know what I mean? I don't know what your dreams are unless you live them for me. And I'm living my dream right now. It sucks sometimes, but I'm still living it, and I'm honored, and I'm thankful, and I couldn't be here without all my family and friends. Y'all know who you are. I say that a lot, but y'all really do know.
Beautiful. Quiz, everybody.
Woo!
All right. Well, I hope
I have one last shout out. Shout out to my mentor, my Sith master. I'm his secret apprentice that he has in violation of the rule of 2. Chapel Stormcrow. He taught me how to get involved in music. That's where I got my Inquisitor moniker from. This is his microphone.
Nice.
This is his microphone he used on stage at almost every show he did. I use it now. I carry it now because he cannot. And everything I do, is because he put me on the path. So I hope he knows that. I'm trying to make him proud.
Much love and respect to Chapel Stormcrow.
Real name, by the way. That's what they call him. You think calling someone Quiz is weird? Dead ass name is Chapel Stormcrow. So like, how can you be Chapel Stormcrow and like Jeff? You know what I mean?
Right.
And have a band like that.
I hope to see you guys this weekend, March 29th, 3 p.m. until the late hour of 1 a.m. at Cafe Bourbon Street in Columbus, Ohio, where we're going to be doing Sanctuary Live, put together by Crystal Eternal and Nostalgia Lounge. We got Luxury Noise, we got Fiji, we got Agnar, we got KJ Valium, Simple Syrup, Van Gogh, and a lot of other really cool people alongside myself. DJ Cena and Gay Luigi will be making an appearance. And I myself will be doing 40 minutes of breakcore, sewer slut, symphony, that kind of stuff, just mixed together to hopefully delight and torment the audience. So be there. I go on around 6, $10, and all donations go to benefit Trans Ohio. So show up. We'd love to see you guys there. A lot of people are coming a long ways to be there. Just saying.
Hey. Donate even if you can't make it. I plan on doing that. And thank you to the people who did donate during this stream as well.
Yes, we appreciate that more than you guys know. And yeah, if you can, even if you can't be there, get a ticket. Thank you for posting the links, Lux.
Sure,
I mean, I'm probably going to buy like 5 of them, but I don't know if maybe I don't want to take seats from people who could actually be there. But and if you go there, buy a drink. If you want to be like Groovy Kaiju and just pour it into a plant, that's fine. But like, we got to patronize Cafe Bourbon Street, right?
Be nice to the plant. The plants will not survive that.
Well, that's a joke. But anyways, hope to see you guys this weekend. That's what I got coming up, along with some secret things that I can't talk about. But, some good shit coming down the line for young Shiro. What do you have coming up, Skeleton Lipstick?
Oh, no, nothing at the moment. Just follow the Death Romantic Instagram page for my photography. I've got some fun cameras. I'll be posting some analog photography on that.
Good stuff. You have a book out, don't you?
I do have a book out. right, you can, if you'd like a copy of it, send me a message on the Instagram. It's a little collaboration I did with
Oh yeah, you not selling copies or anything? I mean, it looks pretty cool.
I'm selling copies if you want one. So
Yeah.
you guys can send.
You can
get
get a
it on
book
the
of
Docu
skeleton
Magazine
lipsticks
website, or
photography
you
under
can-
Death Romantique.
Romantic, I can probably get you a little cheap version of it.
Hey, looked pretty cool to me. Just saying.
Oh, okay, yeah. Send me a message on Death Romantic.
Yeah,
if you
we'll
want.
work some shit out, man. Maybe I'll come to your house and get it. Who knows?
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Would love to see that happen at some point. But anyways, thank you everybody for being here tonight. Thank you for the people that came from the block to hang out. Thank you for the people that came from all the different corners of the world to be here for our celebration of Quiz.
Yes,
thank you for helping us pick his brain. Be sure and check him out. Lux has a helpfully pinned comment. Shout out Lux, by the way, to get to know more about Quiz. But yeah, thank you guys. If you guys like hot takes, your donations mean so much, but post about it on social media. Jump in our Discord server. Let me run through those one more time. We got our Discord. We got our Spotify. We got our Vapor. What was it called? Hot Takes Volume 1. My bad. We got shirts that Bee Fant designed. You can buy. You can follow us on social media, and of course, donate if the spirit moves you. We would love to see you guys engage with us more, because hot takes won't last forever.
If I may, one last note. Get to know your neighbors, get to know the people in your communities, in your local area, in your physical location. Spend time with them in person, hang out with them, attend to each other's basic needs, break bread together, crash at each other's houses, make sure each other stays hydrated. Even if you don't like them that much, we're all in this together.
Church.
That's all I got to say about that. Actually, I have a lot more to say about that, but they won't let me.
Hey, you know what? I wish we could. But, guys, please be here. Same time, same place. We've got our penultimate episode. Technically, we have 3 more because we're going to do our retrospective mega episode. But we're going to be opening up the polls again for our community vote. Who are we going to bring on? Not the next episode, but the one after. Who are we going to bring on? So I'll be posting those polls and floating them everywhere so that you guys can get your vote in for who we bring on Hot Takes. But this time, in 2 weeks, that's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/HotTakesVapor on April 7. We're bringing on Van Gogh. Vincent Van Gogh, who you might know from Vaporwave Zero, or the George Clanton Fan Club, or just several of the many very high-profile shows.
We got Columbus, right, this weekend?
Columbus. Van Gogh's going to be at Sanctuary Live. He's a delightful guy, very skilled, and just a real sweetie. And I love his persona. So very happy to have Van Gogh.
I've never trusted someone dressed in all white that much as I trust Van Gogh.
Very excited to bring Van Gogh. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to run that Sanctuary Live ad one more time, and good night.